a fun, engaging, and most unpredictable dialogue about love with one of the most influential writers on planet Earth, Dushka Zapata. All right. Hey ho, let's go. Hello, my legendary friends. Man, am I ever glad you're here for this episode of Legends and Losers. If you're new to us, I hope someone warned you. And if you're a regular, thanks for coming back. On Legends and Losers, we aspire to have authentic dialogues about what it really takes to live a legendary life and to build a legendary business. And today we have a very special guest, our most regular guest on Legends and Losers, Dushka Zapata. And we have what can only be described as a very unpredictable conversation about love. And I want you to know, I didn't know what she wanted to talk about. And when she surfaced what she wanted to talk about, I couldn't quite believe it. And it's quite illuminating. Now, before we get to Dushka Zapata, I want to say a huge thank you to Jordan French and the good folks at CIO.com. You see, recently, Jordan and CIO named Legends and Losers one of the top 26 podcasts for entrepreneurs. And I don't know how they decided where on the list anybody, or we for that matter, belong, but for some awesome reason, they put us at 11. And if you're a Spinal Tap fan, I'll just say this podcast goes to 11. So Jordan, CIO, we're stoked, we're honored, and what can I say? Namaste. Also, just want to let you know that one of the most exciting things I'm involved with this year is we are working on a new mini book. And it's about category design for your career and / life, for solopreneurs who are out on their own, and for small E entrepreneurs. So Play Bigger, Forbes called it the guide to creating the next, or the how-to book, or the handbook, or something like that, for creating the next Google or Facebook. And our new mini book is the opposite of that. It's really for your life and career, solopreneurs and small E entrepreneurs, and how they can leverage category design. Now, with that said, we have a teaser for the mini book. Think about it as a fun white paper on personal category design and why personal branding is bullshit. And that teaser for the new book is called Niche You. And if you want a free copy of that teaser, here's what we'd like you to do. Write us a review wherever you experience podcasts and Legends and Losers. Take a screenshot of that review and email it to blackhole@legendsandlosers.com, and we will send you the new teaser for the new book called Niche You. And we would love it if you did that. Thank you so much. Now, Dushka, she is the VP of communications at a red hot software company in San Francisco called Zendesk. And I think other than being most legendary at that stuff, which is how we met, she is, I think, one of the most important writers working in the world today, because she has a platform. She discovered this platform, and this platform discovered her, called Quora. If you're not on Quora, check it out. It's fascinating. Everything on it is questions and answers. And anybody can ask a question, and anybody can provide an answer. And Dushka just surpassed over 100 million views of her work on Quora. She's the author of 5 books: How to Be Ferociously Happy, Your Seat Cushion is a Flotation Device, Amateur, A Spectacular Catastrophe. And if you want her answer to every question she's ever been asked about how to write a book, if that's something you want to do, she's got a book called How to Write a Book. Now here she is with the most unpredictable conversation about love, Dushka Zapata.
Do you want me to read something?
Yeah, I do. I really do. And I'm trying to find that Borowski quote you reminded me of.
Oh, find what you love and let it kill you.
Yeah, I'd like to. You reminded me of it, and I went and read the whole thing, and it was really, the whole thing is really cool.
It's tremendous.
Yeah, he was such a great mind. Hold on.
He really was. He really was.
So it's find something you
So
love
anyway,
and let it kill you.
And let it kill you. So I am going to read you the question that the answer to the question I'm going to read you is, how can polyamorous people love more than one person? That's the question.
Yeah. Now, what does polyamorous mean? I think we might have talked about this before, but explain this to me again.
Yeah. Yes. So someone polyamorous is someone who loves more than one person and has more than one relationship, where all of the relationships are open to each other. So they openly say that they are going to have more than one stable relationship.
So
And this question is someone who's wondering. This question is someone who's wondering if it's possible to love more than one person at the same time.
Okay, so I think I know what you're saying, but I want to be clear. So I feel like I love hundreds of people. That's not what we're talking about. You're talking about like a primary spousal type relationship. Yes?
Yes, I think that a primary spousal type of relationship depends on the person. And I'm not polyamorous, so I'm definitely not an expert in this. But it is. I am going to have relationships that I'm not putting in any sort of hierarchy, because they're all my main relationships, and I'm going to be open about the fact that I love more than one person and want a relationship with more than one person.
Okay, so that your writing here is in response to a question about that.
Yes. So to me, how you can love more than one person, I personally am monogamous. I do not have an interest in cultivating more than one simultaneous relationship, but I understand how it's possible to love more than one person. And that is what my answer is about. So I thought it would be interesting to give an answer from the perspective of someone who is not polyamorous and yet understands why it's possible to love more than one person. And I think that there is a nuance to love, which is that we are all finding ourselves feeling things for different people despite being in a single relationship, and that we never talk about it because it's threatening to our relationship. So I'm not talking about having multiple relationships, and I'm not talking about betraying your relationship. I'm talking about the very real feelings of loving more than one person and what that means, at least what that means for me.
All right. Let's hear it.
All right. Just to reiterate, the question is, how can a polyamorous person love more than one person? And my answer is, when my brother had his first baby girl, my niece, and I held her in my arms, I felt a love I had never felt before. So fierce, it crushed my chest. I cried standing there nuzzling her. When he called a few years later to tell me they were having another baby, I fretted that I would not feel the same way. How could I replicate a love so gigantic? But then I met my nephew and realized I had nothing to worry about. I held this new baby and felt my heart expand. It takes a few seconds for me to think of at least 2 exes that I still love. It takes about that same amount of time to that this love does not threaten my love for boyfriend at all, since everyone resides in a different, untouchable place. It's not that every love has its place in my heart. It's that it feels like every love has all of it. This abundance, this heart multiplicity, has nothing to do with being polyamorous. I am monogamous, and even from here, I can clearly see that we are each given an infinite capacity for a love that cannot affect each other. We can love many people and have each love be its own sovereign universe. It is a privilege to be granted expanding hearts. Pretending it is not so in exchange for an illusion of safety would negate the very best in us.
Can I say I love it?
You can.
Yeah. So I love that you wrote that. And here, there's a bunch of things I'd like to unpack with you, if we could.
Please.
So
I actually have more than one thing to read you, and the reason I selected what I did was in the hopes that you would want to unpack it.
yes, and you're going to read as much as you want to read, Dushka. You're Dushka. I mean, come on. Okay, so on this one for me, where I start with you on this, so I start with you and like, is this a weird thing? What the fuck are we talking about? That's where I start. Then the second place I go to is, okay, I got it. And this for me is the big aha around this, and why I love that you wrote that, and why you are in and around this neighborhood of discussion around love and relationships a lot in what you write. So here's why I love it.
Yes.
There is an unspoken context or paradigm in our world that goes like this. I only have so much love, so let's call that 100%. I'm given 100% love. And in the world, I therefore have to carve up this pie of love that I have and dole it out in accordance with some kind of priority list. And so you get 40% and somebody else gets 15% and like that, right? And so there's
Yes.
this finite amount of love, and what I have to sort out is who I allocate what percentage of this finite amount of love. Now, I don't know that anybody ever says that out loud, but you hear it. Like if you listen contextually, it lives. Yes?
And yes, and here's my point. My point is that the best part of us is the very fact that we do not have a limited amount of love. And yet we have chosen to deny this in us because it makes the people around us and ourselves feel more secure. So in the name of safety, we are denying the best of us, which is there is no limit to the amount of people and the way that we can love them.
Yeah. And listen, and this has been true for me for a long time. I fall in love with people all the time.
Me too. This is my point. I fall in love with people all the time.
All the
And
time.
why would that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
No,
Yes. It's my favorite part of life.
No, absolutely. Look, I was telling you earlier, I'm in a very Dushka place right at this particular moment because I did yoga this morning.
Yeah.
So my prana is flowing and my chakras are aligned, and I'm namaste the fuck out. And so and at the end of the yoga class, if it was a good class, you kind of are in love with the yoga teacher.
Of course.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right.
You kind of. You have no idea how many times I fall in love with anyone around me in a yoga class. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my next.
There's this gal.
Brings me to my next.
Okay, go to your next thing.
No, I just want to read you. This is a very, very short answer, but it's just so aligned with what you just said that I want to read it to you. It's really, really short. So the question is, can you crush on someone while you are in a relationship? And this is my answer. And I just want to read it because I set it aside because I anticipated what your reaction would be, and I wrote it before this. I wrote it before this podcast.
You're like,
so here's my answer.
So many chess moves ahead of this discussion. I'm just hanging out, and you have a plan. All right, keep going.
I have a plan. All right. So the question is, can you crush on someone while you're in a relationship? And this is the answer. I want to feel safe. And so when a guy I am dating says, oh my God, babe, I only have eyes for you, I want to believe him, except that I have eyes for everyone. Just because I love you doesn't make me immune to my feelings and the bounty of fabulous men in the world that the world so generously displays before me. I love boyfriend, and of course I crush on other men. This is what makes me alive. Please don't let a flimsy and unrealistic sense of security steal the most life-affirming part of your time here. Don't let it persuade you to create a relationship built on lies.
Yeah, I think that's great too. I mean, because I fall in love all the time, and I do it with men and women pretty equally, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
100%.
like I have
with men and women.
I have these. I meet these dudes, and they're incredible. You know, and like the men or women who come on the show, I fall in love with them too. Like that, guess that I didn't know. Like that, not always, but I mean, often, you kind of have to fall in love with them, and so. No, I think that's great. And I don't think one thing has, to your point, has anything to do with the other thing. As a matter of fact, I can be in love with the yoga teacher in the yoga class that I'm in with my wife, who I love. It's not the same fucking thing, right? It's not the same fucking thing. It's okay.
It's okay. And that brings me to something else that you said a little bit earlier, which is, oh my God, this shit is weird. And there are so many things that we feel, so many feelings that we have that we keep to ourselves because we think they're weird. And I think there is no such thing as weird, and there's no such thing as normal. I think you express who you are so that you can gravitate towards what is looking for you. But I also think that if we were less silent about the things that we consider weird, we would find that they're usually a universal condition.
Yeah, you know what Hunter S. Thompson said?
I do not. Please tell me.
He said, when the going gets weird, the weird turn professional.
Yes, I subscribe to that.
I have always
So
I have
anyhow,
always found comfort in that.
I think that that is extremely comforting. And I mean, you and I should talk, right? We're if there's anyone weird and, you know, incredibly idiosyncratic and quirky, it's you and I. So what if we're not? What if we're awesome?
Yeah, well, it's like the misfits discussion we had a while ago, right? If everybody feels like
Exactly.
they're a misfit, you didn't. I think this is what you said. If everybody feels like they're a misfit, then we need a new definition of misfit. Didn't you say something like that?
Absolutely.
Isn't that something Dushka would say?
Yeah, and if what makes me weird is the fact that I love everyone and that I fall in love with everyone several times a day. If that's what makes me weird, I would rather be weird because it feels so life affirming to feel like you have this endless bounty of love. And you know, what I would like is for people to feel more comfortable in that. And also
Yeah.
for the possibility that you might develop feelings, like feelings are not a scary thing. Feelings are the best part. So we can't let the fact that something is going to cause us pain determine what it is that we're going to be doing.
Yes, and also feelings come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes, and we can point them in
They do.
directions and stuff. You know, so there's a lot of women in my life I'm madly in love with, and
I think that's amazing, and I
none of
don't
it's
blame
got
you.
anything to do with being, you know, monogamous and madly in love with my wife, right?
Absolutely. The fact that you love other people does not threaten your relationship because that's not how hearts work.
No, as a matter of fact, a quick story about this. The other weekend, we were at our local farmers market, and we were trying to meet up with some of our dear close friends who are really adopted family. Anyway, it didn't work out. They were sort of leaving as we were coming, the kids, blah, blah. Anyway, as she was pulling out, her name's Alyssa, as she was pulling out, kind of, I was pulling in, she said, oh, hey, you know, I kind of waved at her. I noticed her car. She said, I got a good spot. You can take it. And, you know, so we had a quick chat, sort of car to car, so to speak. And as she's pulling out, she says, love you a lot. And I said, love you a lot too. And I just sort of sat there in the moment. Um, and I just thought, how fucking awesome is that? Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Which of course takes me to the point of like um, expressing what you feel, right? Just coming out and being clear about what it is that you're feeling and why. I don't think people do that enough. I feel like we all have these feelings that we feel threatened by, and you know, I should only have eyes for one person, and why can't I limit this incredibly beautiful thing? And you know, how can I extinguish the things that I'm feeling? I don't know. I think that we use our energy in we often use our energy in the wrong direction.
Yeah. I
I don't
mean,
think these things should be extinguished or feared.
I don't know. I like myself better when I let my crazy off the chain.
Me too. Much better.
Yeah.
And
And
I
it
feel
doesn't,
like whenever I can do that, I'm in the right place.
the other thing is, uh, if you're an adult and you understand this simple distinction, then it makes all of this a lot easier. There's thinking and then there's doing. And
Yeah,
so,
I don't think absolutely. I actually 100%. There's feeling and there's action, right? There's this is what I feel, and you know, my choices on how I'm going to act on it. But I don't think that has anything to do with adulthood. I just think that that has something to do with you know, it's less about age and more about emotional maturity. It has to do with being in touch with who you are and what you're really feeling, and you know, not being afraid of it.
yeah, like, look, I'm big enough to admit that when dumb shit happens in the road on the road, it makes me angry, and I am particularly um, unenamored, shall we say, with individuals who choose to sit in the left-hand lane and not get out of the fucking way. And so
Right?
there are moments on a, I'll say, somewhat regular basis where I feel like I want to, quote, kill somebody on the road.
Yeah.
And I even have fantasies about like bumping their car and like sending them over the cliff, and or maybe like saying, "Oh yeah, well fuck you. You want to pull over and get out?" and like beating the shit out of them, and how good that would feel and stuff. And no, but like really, like sometimes you just think, "Oh, that would be really good to just beat the shit out of that asshole. Like he deserves it, right?"
I'm pretty sure that's nearly universal.
Yeah, and so like I have that thought, and it's not a irregular thought, and there's not a chance in hell I'm going to do anything about it. Like it would take an extraordinary situation where people's lives were in danger, where I would even consider touching somebody, right? This is just not who I am at all. And yet in that moment,
Yeah, I completely. So tell me this: do you ever drive along the highway alone without anger and without looking at anyone, and just think how easy it would be to swerve and fall into the ocean with your car, or like how easy it would be to swerve into oncoming traffic? Just as
I
a contemplation of your own mortality.
yeah, so I used to have thoughts like that when I was younger. And then over the last 12 or 15 years, as I've done more and more backcountry stuff and, more and more sort of adventure surf trips and shit, um, I had this aha, which is don't put that bad shit in your head. So I found myself watching this movie years ago called Open Water. And it's about this couple that goes scuba diving, and they surface and there's no fucking boat, and they end up.
Oh, right, I saw the trailer for that, and it freaked me out.
Yeah, and so it's a horrible movie, and I'm sitting there watching this movie and I'm thinking, hey, well, why are you watching this movie? So I don't want to have things in my head that are horrible about stuff that
That
I
are
do.
toxic.
Yeah, so I don't think about that anymore. I used to, but yeah, I don't think about falling off the side of a mountain or a cliff anymore, because sometimes I find myself in those places.
So let me make a distinction, because I find it super interesting. I brought it up in the context of being weird and feeling something that is actually universal. So there's two separate things. One is suicidal fantasies, right?
Yeah,
But the other is the non-suicidal. The other is the non-suicidal, the non-self-sabotaging, fleeting thought of, it would be so easy to swerve. And there's a name for that. It is not suicidal and not self-sabotaging, and it's called l'appel du vide, the call of the void. And it's pretty universal. We all toy with our own mortality. I just think that
yeah.
it's just, for me, for a very long time, it was just such an intimate contemplation, and I thought that no one else would think that way, and it turns out that there's actually a name for it.
Does it diminish with age, or age has nothing to do with it?
No, I don't. So the honest answer is I don't know, but I do know that it's not related to. It's a very different sense of a suicide ideation and a contemplation of your mortality. One is suicidal, and the other is a call of the void, and it is the sense of like, oh my God, this building is so high, I could jump off, or oh my God, the traffic, I could just swerve onto oncoming traffic. Oh wow, look at that cliff, I could just like swerve and fall off the cliff. And it's just your brain likes limits, so it's just toying with your mortality. I love that. I love that there's a name for it. I think it's just so beautiful.
No, it's interesting because as you're talking, I'm thinking, and best of my recollection, Dushka, I absolutely remember doing those things. I remember doing
Yeah.
those things in sort of moments of melancholy, for sure. Um, and I don't remember doing anything like that, whether it was the sort of the more dramatic suicidal one or the less dramatic, I'm on the road and what if I just swerve? I don't remember doing that for a long time. So that's why I asked, maybe it's a matter of, I don't know, maybe being comfortable in your skin, or just your brain gets less freaky. I have no idea, but yeah, I don't think I do that anymore.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's just it's an interesting concept.
So I want to go back to this. Hey, I only have 100 points of love, and therefore I can only give you 4, and this other person's 3, and like that. And so I guess my question is, how do we open ourselves up to this? You tell me if this is not the right way to think about it. This kind of more infinite or unbounded context or perspective on love? Because I think a lot of
So
people can get trapped in this. I only have so much love.
yeah, I think that that would be really sad. I wrote an answer to a similar question that I'm going to read you, and I'll see if it answers your question, and if it doesn't, we can talk about it. So the question is, it presents a more specific dilemma, right? Um, it basically asks, I am in a relationship, but I'm crushing on someone. I know this is wrong, but I can't get this person out of my mind. What do I do? And this is how I handle that kind of situation. And I think that it will answer your question, but if it doesn't, just tell me. This answer is just a tiny bit longer. The answer says, a crush is one of the best feelings in the world. I feel an effervescence and electricity in the presence of the person I am crushing on. It feels like you reached into my chest and flipped a hard-to-reach switch that turns on all the lights. When something feels as good as this, every cell in my body thinks, more. I want more of his company. Saying you can't have more feels like a waste, like I'm making a horrible mistake, like this is something I should be fighting for. Being in the grip of a crush is so beautiful. It's a gift, and my most primal instinct demands that I preserve it. I really want to see where this takes us. Saying drop this, let it go, just do nothing, feels to me, a doer, a master of my fate, utterly counterintuitive. It's at this point that I force myself to examine my predicament. Is this crush out of place? Am I crushing on someone I shouldn't be crushing on? If this is the case, the first thing I do is remind myself not to suppress this. You cannot suppress your feelings and then wonder why you are so out of touch with yourself. So I let it disorder me. I let it keep me up at night. I let it course through the delicate ecosystem of my tidy, comfortable life. Then I try to channel it all towards something that could really benefit from a thermonuclear amount of energy. I write more, I work more, I participate more, I do more. Crush-powered creativity. There's another alternative, of course. To decide that acting on this crush is worth the pain and the destruction that it might cause. Under the influence of this powerful chemical cocktail, I could lie to myself. That would sound like this. How can something that feels so right be so wrong? We're smart. No one has to find out. We will act on this crush only once and have the best sex mankind has ever known and get it out of our system, and then we can move on with this incredible distraction. So here's the truth. It's wrong because I'm doing something I feel I need to keep from someone. This will not happen only one time, and people always find out. So it's sad, devastatingly sad, to take something joyous and electric and squander it by promoting its dwindling and subsequent extinction. So I mourn. I mourn, but I know that it would be sadder still to take something this beautiful and let it turn into a destructive force that breaks the heart of the people who love you. Don't do that. So the short answer is, a crush provides the energy that you need to be creative. I think a lot of us struggle with how to be more creative, and we are given this life force that we choose to deny. And we should instead use this life force to be more creative and to be respectful of the person who loves us, and to be respectful of the promises that we make, and not let the crush end in a destructive way. So like you said earlier, it has to do with something that you feel and not something that you do. And with using the energy and that you channel in the direction that is more constructive and that is more honest to the people in your life that you love. Alternately, you could also be open and say that you want to love more than one person at once and have multiple relationships at once, and let each relationship live its course. But I think that is a whole other conversation about life choice. And the people that you choose that make the same choice as you do, so that you can live under the same rules and not have double standards.
I mean, I'm nobody to judge. So if people can make that work, then hey, Bob's your uncle.
Absolutely.
And for some men, you could joke about, oh yes, this would be fantastic or whatever. For me, there's nothing fantastic sounding about that.
Yeah, I mean, for me either. But I mean, what you just expressed is the point of view of a person who's a monogamist. I would not find that attractive either. The idea of multiple relationships is just on many levels. I mean, let me just put it this way: setting relationships aside, I'm either all in or not interested. So with everything I do, it's like one thing. I put all of this energy and attention on one thing. I don't know how to divide myself like that. So I am monogamous to my core in everything I do, not just relationships. But there are many people, many wonderful, loving people that make this work. And it's not even about sex. It's just about possibility. It's just about,
Yeah, I mean,
and that the people that they love are comfortable loving multiple people. I think that's amazing.
and
I mean, not for me, but amazing.
yeah, power to you. It just to me, I'm more simplistic about this. It just sounds too fucking complicated. Like it just sounds like too much work. I remember,
And
you
many people
know,
say that. I agree with you.
I was when I turned 40, Dushka, I had this aha, 39, 40, which was, oh, Beatrice now wants in this conversation too, don't you, BB? Yeah. Um, I had this aha, which is, hey, um, success equals simple life.
Yes, I
Like
had that
way
aha
simple.
a long time ago.
Wait, no relate. Like every relationship works. We got no bullshit. Like we just take all the shit, all the inauthenticity, like just all of it out. Very simple. And so, yeah, I look at it and go, hey, multiple wives or whatever, like way complicated, way hard. So no.
Way hard. I mean, you would imagine that would have to. Let me just put it this way. I have dear friends who choose this lifestyle, and they have to contend with. So if you and I have a relationship, your dynamic with your wife affects our relationship. So we don't only have to deal with our own stuff, but with the stuff that you deal with in your other relationships, and that I other relationships. It
Yeah,
takes a lot of love and dedication to make something like that. It's
it's
definitely not simple.
it sounds like a fucking nightmare to me. But
And you also have to deal with, like, multiple responsibilities and being there for multiple people, and multiple families in law, etc.
what do you do on St. Valentine's Day?
It's a good question.
Who do you have dinner
I
with?
think that part of the part of the beauty of this is that
You're
it
one of my
obligates
two
you to
most
have
favorite women
a
in the
lot of
world. At Valentine's dinner, you just look her in the eye and say, honey, you're one of the two most favorite women in the world. Like, well, how does this stuff work? I don't know.
yeah. I think that what it does is force you to have really, really honest, really, really important conversations and an open communication. I think that you have to work at it harder than, just one relationship. But anyway, the point is less about the logistics of a relationship and more about, how to embrace all the things you feel and how to use them to have a more fulfilling life where you're alive and on and engaged and, just alive.
Yeah, and I want to, if we could, circle back to this crush business because, and this sort of falling in love with people business. So, in that last piece that you read, I would my definition of that type of a crush would be maybe you could call it a big C crush. And
Yes.
yeah, I don't, if you're in a committed relationship and you end up having a big C crush, then I get that at some level you could sort of roll around in it a little bit, but that at some level you got to work that shit out, or bad shit's going to happen unless that's what you really want to go do. And if you want to go, burn Rome down and go rebuild, another one, then have at it. That happens, but
Yeah.
that's a big, big fucking decision. So that's a big C crush, and that forces a whole bunch of thinking and so forth. Um, I don't, I can't remember. It's been a long time, so that's not what I experience on a regular basis. I guess I want to be clear. I experience like a small C, and it isn't even like, it's more like a feeling like, wow, that person is awesome. There's a little bit of I'm in awe, or I'm in admiration, or even if I don't know the person, I'm proud of them because they're doing something really cool. And so, if you see somebody do a performance, or an athlete, or a young entrepreneur, I have that experience all the time when I meet with executives and entrepreneurs. Like, wow, you kind of you sort of fall in love with them. You're like, wow, I love how passionate these folks are about their thing, and they built a
Yeah.
really cool carbodingulator and, you know, whatever it is. So I'm more talking about that. And I give myself full permission to have those, you know, fall in love that way all the time.
Yeah. But let me ask you this. Do you think that you giving your feelings permission has the ability to control what you feel? Like, I realize you can control your actions, but can you control your feelings? I mean, if you felt something that was more like a sea-level crush, is that really something under your control? And the question is not necessarily for you, it's a rhetorical question, and maybe for the people who are listening. But I mean, you can feel a lot of things that you're not necessarily controlling, and you can't necessarily control them. I'll give you an example. I actually answered a question about this that I have handy, but I have, you know, a couple of friends that decided that they were going to be friends with benefits, and they were like, you know, we're just not going to fall in love. And my answer was, how do you know that that's not going to happen? I mean, you can't make promises that you can't deliver on. And let's have this kind of relationship that we're going to dictate the rules around under the assumption that those rules are not going to get out of hand. Let me read you this answer.
Okay.
So the question is, what if you develop feelings for your friend with benefits? And because I was talking to my friend when I ran into this answer, I answered it because everything was like fresh on my mind. This conversation that I had with them was fresh on my mind, but here's the answer. Friends with benefits means you have sex with a friend. The chances that one of you falls in love despite a clear arrangement that you won't are, in my empirical experience, really high. I mean, I, for one, fall in love with someone if he holds my hand. You can also develop feelings for a friend you are not having sex with. This is a person who understands you, who you are in some ways compatible with, who sees you for who you are. You can develop feelings for a coworker. There you are, together for hours, staying late at the office fighting the same battles. You can develop feelings for someone completely nonsensical. You're clearly not compatible, and it would be a pain, and it would be plain ridiculous, and there goes your stupid, stupid heart. You can develop feelings for someone completely forbidden, because it would be inappropriate, because, oh my God, no, because look at how he rests his hand on her thigh, it makes my gut ache. You can develop feelings for a stranger. He's holding a book, a real book, and sitting alone in a corner of the coffee shop. And feast your eyes on that guy in the park, lying on a towel in the sun. He's not wearing a shirt, and there's a frisbee by his feet. The greatest tragedy I can fathom is to go through life feelingless. What would become of me if day in and day out I felt nothing? I can pretty much guarantee you, lucky, lucky you, that someday you will develop feelings for someone you would rather not. As such, the possibility of developing feelings is no reason not to do something.
Yeah, I find this fascinating. I don't know, maybe I'm some kind of weird freak or something.
There you go again with that word.
Well, I don't know. I have not really experienced this. So let me say what's on my mind. I have no idea whether it's true. My assumption was that if you were experiencing this kind of feeling, that in some way you had to be open to it. And so, is that true? Or if you're genuinely, or in the parlance of our time, legitimately not open to it, that is to say, you feel committed and connected to your partner and so forth and so on, and somehow this just happens, because that's how I hear what you're saying. But I've never had that experience. I've been married to 2 women, and you know, listen, I've met other women who I thought were great and who I had chemistry with, and so forth and so on. But it just never really occurred to me any of that was going to go anywhere, because I was married to, I'm married to who I'm married to. So it doesn't.
So my answer is this. I am no expert on love, but I can tell you that just based on the drama that surrounds us, based on pop music and TV shows and movies, I think this happens all the time, whether or not you're open to it. And the question is it going to fill your life, or is it going to destroy it? The question is, how are you going to use all these feelings? And, how are you going to act when you feel them? And to your point, sometimes people choose to destroy Rome and rebuild it, and sometimes people choose to let these feelings feed them. And to me, denying their existence, judging their existence, looking reproachfully at their existence is is turning a blind eye or covering our ears to something that is happening all around us. I mean, pretty much every song I've ever heard, possibly. I'm thinking of everyone, but I'm thinking 90% of the music that surrounds me has to do with some love that,
some
was not
foreign,
supposed to
some
happen.
forbidden love. Yeah. Yeah, I guess
Yes.
you're right, but that's still, yeah, Beatrice is really, can you hear her? Can you hear Beatrice?
Mm-hmm.
What's that, B? What's
I
that?
can.
I think she's got something to say. Yeah, so I get that it happens all the time. I get that part. What I'm still not sure of, and I'm not arguing with you. I really wonder is, do you at some level have to be open to
Yeah.
it
No,
for it to happen, or can it happen randomly? And you and I have talked about shit like
yeah,
this in the past. Like if I, for whatever reason, get the spider sense that a woman is, quote unquote, hitting on me, I make sure to do things that I think are gonna make, are gonna calm that shit down, right? And so I guess my point is, if you don't stoke it a little bit, can it go? Like, can it just can fire just erupt?
yeah, and I don't feel like you're arguing with me, and I don't know what the answer is, but I'm going to assume that it is because it's all around us. I mean, it's in stories, and it's in literature, and it's in music, and it's in our friends, it's in the dissolution of marriages. It
Actually, you know what?
is.
You're right. I'm just remembering a conversation I had with a gal who's a wonderful gal who I respect and admire tremendously. Um, and her story is an incredible one because she, as an adult, I forget at what age, but this was not like a teenage thing. She had been heterosexual,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
she went to some fuck thing, I don't know, whatever it was. She was in some place, and this woman walks in, and she looked at her, and bam, that was it. And she's now married to that woman, and she's,
Yeah, and I don't, and I am,
and so yeah,
I just,
she had that happen, and she had that happen for someone of the same sex, and she's as dumbfounded by it as as anybody. And so yeah, that's a wacky one. I mean, I don't mean wacky
no,
in a bad way, but like, like if you're the person that happens to you, you're like, holy fuck, what's going on here?
and that's what I was gonna say. I don't think that one would willingly be open to something that is going to douse their life with gasoline and set it on fire. What you're describing is, I mean, I'm sure that she's in an amazing place right now, but I'm telling you that how she got from that moment in the bar when she saw that other woman to today must have been absolutely terrifying. You don't
There's no
willingly
way.
walk into a fire like that.
Right. There's
This is
no
my
way that
point.
was
So
champagne and roses, right? That wasn't moonlight and canoes.
exactly. And then when someone that I love is, has been married for 20 years and they tell me that, their wife cheated on them or that they're cheating, oh my God, I'm having an affair. The first words out of my mouth are, I'm so sorry. You, I mean, it must be, I really try not to judge, and setting judgment aside, I mean, how terrifying. And I think that if we suppressed our emotions less and accepted them more and used all of that love and all of that emotion towards something amazing and constructive and glorious, I just think we would be a whole lot happier. And I think that the first reaction of people is, this conversation being a testament to that is, that's weird, or that doesn't happen, or is that really true? And I'm like, get in the car and turn the radio on in any station of any type of music and tell me what you hear. And it's not just people writing the music, it's people singing the lyrics to the music because it speaks to them. I'm going to read you one more thing, because it's the difference between, to me at least, that someone posted a question of like, I kissed a coworker a long time ago and I can't get over that kiss. I don't know what to do because I've been married for 20 years and I can't get over that kiss. So what do I do? And so this is my answer. When he kissed me, we were sitting on his mom's soft white leather sofa. His hand felt strong and hot around the nape of my neck, flat against the small of my back, tangled in my hair. Tell me, How is it that this kiss burned itself so clearly into my memory? I will tell you how. That decades-old kiss is infused with fantasy. It's a dream kiss, unrestrained, wondrous, imagined. It happened, believe me, it happened. But it's since been adulterated by my internal design. That kiss is my flawless invention. Reality is grittier. It's every day, laundry in a sink full of dirty dishes. It's coming home tired after work. It's you, the one I sometimes wish was different, the one who misses meeting my expectations and falls short in small, disheartening ways. That kiss, an apparition, a fantasy, paradise, my perfect hallucination. You, here, concrete, true, disappointing. One is escape. It's what our imagination does when we need a break from what we have. But you know what the other is that is priceless? The other is real. Fight with me, real. Stick it out with me, real. Show up every day, real. Get over yourself, real. I know I disappoint you too, so thank you for loving me anyway. You can have them both, you know. I know I do. I still think of that mouth against mine. But I'd never compare two things that do not even exist in the same dimension. And I would be a fool to ever allow a delusion make me question the value of something that's real.
So we turn that kiss into something magical, mystical. It gets mythic over time in our heads.
100%. And this is a decades old kiss, but things that happen in the present, you know, what if I did this? If I feel this, what would happen if I lived it out? And I think that, you know, people who cheat serially are living different versions of the same thing, which is the assumption that the fantasy is better than the reality. So that's disappointing too. How do you contend with all these feelings and make the right decisions and remain truthful to yourself and to the people that love you, but at the same time not denying these feelings, not judging them, not turning them away? How do you strike that balance? And I think that the answer to that is, but basically the answer to that is the answer to everything that feeds our passion. It's the answer behind a successful startup, and it's the answer behind showing up at work excited, and it's the answer behind sitting in a room where everything points to a podcast that you built and, you know, hugging your chicken. This is what drives us. Our love is what drives us. Our love is what defines us. It's what makes us who we are. And that's why I think it matters.
That's fantastic. I also think, you know, I'm trying to put it into my context for myself, of course. And, you know, so for example, this week I met two groups of entrepreneurs, two different companies, and spent time with them. And in both cases, you know, very exciting category potential, huge opportunities, good group of folks, sound like generally good technology. And, you know, they wanted some advice. They'd read my book, blah, blah, yada, yada. And while I'm with them, I kind of, you know, fall in love with them. And as part of that falling in love, there's part of me that fantasizes, if you will, about what it would be like to work together, and could we really do something special here, and this and that and the other. And when the conversation's over, and my, if you will, infatuation with that idea, for the most part, goes away, and I go back to my life. And so there's got to be something to, like, we allow ourselves to fall in love in a moment. We sort of have that moment, and then we're good.
Yeah,
you know,
I think
because
that to
your point, the reality of it sets in. I know if those folks want to work with me and I say yes, I know what that looks like. And I'm at a place in my life where, you know, I don't really want to do very much of that anymore. And so, in other words, I know about the dirty laundry, and I know about the, you know, shit in the sink, and, you know, all of that. And so I'm okay with, hey, we had this little small C, right, crush, and it was fun. And hey, I wish you guys well.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. I just don't think that is true for everyone at every time.
Yeah.
I think that is a great, it's a great reaction, and I think that that's what most people feel most of the time. But I also think that there's people who, you know, are bouncing around from one affair to the next, or whose lives have been uprooted by, you know, a new love, or who all of a sudden turned around and saw someone across the room and, you know, decided to set their life on fire for it. And I think that, I don't know, find what you love and let it kill you.
Yeah, well, that was the story. That's Ring of Fire, right? Johnny Cash.
Yeah, this is what
Now,
I'm saying. It's everywhere.
it
I
happened.
love that song.
Yeah, that's probably, um, now you said you segued to Borowski, so let's go there. You had mentioned this to me. Was it on Facebook or something? Where did this come up recently?
I don't remember, but we had this conversation possibly through a text or maybe through Facebook. I don't know.
I don't
We
know.
communicate. We tirelessly communicate through different channels.
Yes, through all the mediums. Anyway, so it reminded me to go look up the original Borowski quote. So the quote is, quote, "My dear, find what you love and let it kill you. Let it drain you of your all. Let it cling onto your back and weigh you down into eventual nothingness. Let it kill you and let it devour your remains. For all things will kill you, both slowly and fastly, but it is much better to be killed by a lover. Falsely yours, Charles Borowski."
Fuck yeah.
Right? Fucking A,
You're
Chuck.
right. We have to end here because we could not possibly improve on that, on what you just read.
Let it
My work
devour
here,
your remains.
fuck yeah.
Well, like something's going to devour your remains. He's right, right?
All right, this is what I'm saying. We're done. Our work here is done. I cannot improve upon what you just wrote. We're good.
Excellent.
Yes.
Anything else, Dushka?
That, like I said, I can't say anything more. I'm probably going to now hang up and go look for that quote and read it again.
All right. Well, I have just one more thing. I love you.
Sure.
You cut out there, Dushka. It was perfect.
Yeah. For a second. What's the one more thing?
The one more thing is, I love you.
I love you too so much. I love you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for loving me so
I'll
much.
talk to you soon.
Yes, my love.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I love you.
Be legendary, my friend. I know you will. Whew. Thank you, Dushka. If you love this episode as much as I do, please share it on social media right now. Thank you so much. And we would like to thank HarperCollins Instant Classic, Play Bigger, How Pirates, Dreamers, and Innovators Create and Dominate Markets. Equity Directory, connecting startups to the talent and resources they need to build a legendary business. Check us out at equitydirectory.co. Our good friends at NetSuite, thanks NetSuite. NetSuite.com. NetSuite's the #1 platform for growing entrepreneurs, small e-businesses, #1 in cloud ERP. If you want to scale and run your small and growing business, NetSuite.com. Speaking of scaling your business, Spiro, the sales app for salespeople and sales managers who like to make money. Check us out at Spiro.ai. Verve, the leaders in California artisan coffee. Check us out in Santa Cruz, California, San Francisco, California, Tokyo, many other locations, and always at vervecoffee.com. In Australia, if you want to produce some legendary marketing results, check out our good friends at Rapid Media, rapidmedia.com.au. And if you're a thought leader and you want to create your own podcast, but you don't know how to do it, you're not a technical person, you just want to be able to talk some shit into a mic and get going, check out pursuingresults.com. They produce legendary podcasts, and this one too. If you're a thought leader and you want to be on podcasts, my dear friend Tom Schwab's company, interviewvalet.com. Check them out and get your leading thoughts, get your leading butt placed on some great podcasts. The amazing bestseller by our friend and guest, Eric Weinmeier, No Barriers. Check it out. Buy copies for your friends. Speaking of books that we love, Super Consumers by Eddie Yoon. One of the most important books for entrepreneurs. Check it out. Super Consumers by Eddie Yoon. A podcast we love, Jamie J's Stop Riding the Pine. Thanks, Jamie. And a nonprofit we love, Doctors Without Borders. You make a donation and we make a difference in some of the most difficult parts of the world. MSF.org, Doctors Without Borders. Now, we must remind you that this oddcast is a sole property of the Legends Losers Oddcast Network. And we would love you just a little bit extra if you shared the shit out of it. Today's information is provided to you solely for informational purposes. And in the event of a water landing, Legends and Losers can also be used as a flotation device. We must remind you, Legends and Losers is never tested on GMOs. Get out of the left lane. It's the passing lane, not a cruising lane. Listen to Lincoln Park. Chris Cornell was right. Support your local author. Only fart in an elevator of 3 or more people. Always shower with a friend. Thank you, Dandy Candy. Love you, Mom and Dad. And hey, Colin, this oddcast really ties the room together, doesn't it? Today, our deepest apologies go out to Symantec CEO Greg Clark. Sorry, Greg, we just ran out of time for you. That's it, my friends. Thank you so much for investing part of your life with us. We love you, and be legendary.